There appears to be some confusion around curfews and how this will affect restaurant-goers. So Restaurants Association CEO Wendy Alberts joins us to talk about this. Wendy, good evening, and thank you so much for your time tonight. Can you clear us, give us some clear, direction here in terms of what exactly has been going on? Because it does look like there's quite a lot that is being said around the curfew times, but it looks like it's applying to hotspot areas. Can you shed some light on what's going on there?
What confusing times. I mean, the clarity on the interpretation of the regulations has really put the industry in a complete and utter frenzy. And I think that the misinterpretation that has been put out to compliance officers as well as authorities as well as the police is all very confused. So we are dealing with a mammoth amount of queries currently taking place on how we deal with it. And from our side, we've certainly been trying to get it in writing as to what the exact restrictions are placed on restaurants. So we finally managed to get commitment and confirmation that the correct division in terms of interpretation states in the regulations that it was due to the amendment that was made in Section 82, which means only establishments that are in hotspot areas have to close at 2100 hours to accommodate the 10 o'clock curfew. The rest of South Africa that is not in hotspot areas relate to Chapter 6 and 7, which reverts back to Level 1 restrictions, and the curfew for that is now set at 10 o'clock. So restaurants have to close their doors by 10 o'clock. They cannot have any customers within the establishments at 10 o'clock to meet the curfew at 11 o'clock.
So this
we hope that this clears all the confusion and uncertainty.
And pardon me, Wendy, so does this mean then that by 10 o'clock there shouldn't be anyone inside?
The doors have to be locked. And I mean, we're having such challenges because customers don't seem to be understanding this. They seem to think that the curfew is at 11 o'clock and they can still finish their drinks at 10 o'clock or finish their meals. It's putting so much pressure on us. And we've still got to clean the restaurants, which is putting pressure on us. And we've got stressed staff because some of our staff can take up to 2 hours to get home. The public transport can be delayed, et cetera, et cetera. So overall, the curfew has just really brought a whole load of very, very complex ways for us to be able to maneuver and to safely measure on how we actually manage the process of this COVID. We should have really had an extension on the curfew, to be honest, not a restriction on it.
And really, I wanted to probe you on that particular issue because certainly, as you say, some of the staff members don't really stay close to their places of work. When you look at, at a practical level, for an employee to then be able to get home just before, the time expires, are they then going to have to close the restaurants at 8 o'clock for them to be able to travel so that they make it home just in time for 11 o'clock? Or what does this mean at a practical level?
From an operational point of view, it's a complete and utter nightmare. We obviously got guests, we've got bookings, we've taken bookings. We took bookings on a 3-tier booking. We still need to clean the restaurant after we close. So it gives us very limited time. We've got a lot of restaurants are bringing in private transport, which is excessively expensive to try and rush and get staff home. Other restaurants are having to make do with accommodation for restaurants, which again is an added expense in order for us to be able to not get into trouble for the curfew. So it's just ludicrous all round, and we're finding it almost impossible to operate within this space in the curfew. And then there is the complete chaos on the roads at 10 o'clock with everybody closing doors and everybody trying to meet the curfew and get home in time. So it's putting irresponsibility on the driving. It certainly is lending itself to a lot of complexities on the roads. The Uber drivers trying to get to their place and destination. So it's mayhem. The roads are mayhem. Pushing people out of restaurants is complicated. It's very difficult. The customers are not cooperating with us. They're not supporting us. They want to finish their meals. They want to finish their drink. And it's putting a lot of pressure on us. And then we've also had, obviously, the negativity that's taken place in terms of the uncertainty of what the curfew actually is. So, when the amended regulations came out, the interpretation wasn't clear. And for days and hours, round the clock, we have been trying to get clarity on what the actual interpretation of that is, whether the curfew was at 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock. So only now in the 11th hour have we managed to get complete confirmation that restaurants may close at 10 o'clock.
It sounds like, Wendy, the restaurant industry is really trying to fight for its seat at the table here.
No, it's been a complex 9 months, 10 months, 11 months. It's just going on so much time we're forgetting to actually count the days. But the truth is we're fragmented. So certain of our responsibilities doesn't rest within the ministerial division of tourism. And then they refer us back to COCTA. COCTA can't make certain decisions, and they refer us back to the Department of Trade and Industry. So we're fortunate that we have built good relationships over 9 months. But it's very difficult at this space and time because a lot of people are on leave or on short time. So we can't reach the contacts we've got. We've had to knock on other doors to be able to get who the stand-in positions are, to be able to get clarity on the directives that have been issued for us to be compliant. And at no point in time do we want to risk any establishment from not operating within the bylaws and the restrictions that have been placed against us, so that we don't have anybody getting arrested or anybody getting fined or anybody operating against the regulations that put the rest of the industry at risk. So we say to government, talk to us. We've been put into crisis management on the 11th hour. There have been months to plan for the holiday season. They should have sat around the table. They should have strategized. They should have been proactive. They should have looked at solutions. They should have spoken to industry. They should have come to us and said, how can we mitigate the risk should there have been a second wave? But the second wave hit us. They hadn't thought about the processes and structures to put into place. And yet again, we've been prejudiced. And we're the hardest hit industry. And we've adequately prepared for our December trade. We have brought in staff. We have used our cash flow for produce to be cut on the limitation again of the curfew. Staff are left on the 11th hour without work. Many of them have been sent home days before Christmas without jobs. We've got cash flow issues from bookings that we've taken. We've prepared. We have booked stock. We've now had to cancel stock. So logistically, from an operational point of view, it's a nightmare. Managing the bookings and trying to get people in to have a beautiful celebration through this holiday season is now a rushed episode. We're on short-time staff to get staff home. It puts pressure on closing times.
And Wendy,
it's a nightmare all round.
And Wendy, when you look at, something you touched on, the second wave, of course, there's now concern at this new variant that is now appearing to also just, increase the spreading of COVID-19. And while scientists are still trying to make sense of what exactly the damage that this new variant can do, what is your reaction to the news that there's now a new variant? As restaurateurs, are you then concerned at this particular news?
Absolutely. I think the entire industry is in a complete and utter panic. We've been left for months, an island on our own with no help, no support, no comfort, no assistance from government. We haven't had the support from the banks that we've needed. They've cut lending. They have called in the bank loans. They've called in the short-term loans. They've called in overdraft. We've had a tremendous time with the suppliers. They've blacklisted many of our establishments. They've cut the terms. They've put us onto cash operation practices. We're in a complex relationship with the landlords. We're going through a divorce, trying to have a good relationship and court at the same time to save our businesses. Well, we understand on the back end they're also trying to find relief for the debts and the responsibilities that they've got. We've been struggling with UIF and TERS. We've made a demand now with the restrictions again and the hotspot areas that the TERS needs to be extended. We can't continue to support the businesses. And if we take all of this in place, even with the insurance payouts and the wins that we've made, it's still not sufficient because we've had nobody come to us and love us other than the patrons. So the only support that we've got that we are so grateful for is the love and the support that the patrons come in and they'll have a beer or a meal or just a drink or just food, and they've kept our industry going. And it's very concerning because if the second wave is not met with the responsibility it needs to quickly curb and put mitigation in place, we're going to be hit harder again. And we are doing everything we can. We've got the most protocols out of every single industry. We've got the registers. They have never been called for in 9 months. We do the contact. We do the temperature control. We have got all the variants in place, and we've even upped our regulations and our responsibility for health and hygiene through the holiday season. But nobody talks to us. But yet we're the first industry to be cut and to be put on hold and to have further restrictions and further limitations. And all it does is it push people to illicit trade. So we close the restaurants early. People are not tired yet, so they're going to house parties and they're having gatherings and they're in close contact and they're going to enjoy time till 4 a.m. in the morning in a crowded environment where they could have safely been in an establishment where we could have at least had contact tracing and we could have ensured social distancing and we could have had a safe experience, and also it could have benefited the economy legally.
All right, it definitely does sound like a desperate situation. Wendy, thank you so much for your time tonight. We certainly do appreciate it. That was Wendy Alberts, of course, who is with the Restaurants Association, and she is the CEO there, definitely sounding like, it is indeed a desperate situation.